Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on what time you're watching this. My name's Connor from 905 Review, and here we are back again reviewing some of your favorite albums. Let's start off today with a recommendation from my friend Jen, who wants to hear my thoughts on the latest Little Simz album, Lotus. Little Simz is a rapper from London, and she had such clear potential right out the gate. She even performed at a number of British music festivals before her debut album was even out, which was eventually released in 2015, with another in 2016, both of these leading to her becoming the opening act for Gorillaz on their Humans tour. From there, she really took off with her 2019 album Grey Area, and continued to make hits with subsequent albums Sometimes I Might Be Introvert and No Thank You. And these three great albums all featured significant contributions from the married couple Inflo and Cleo Sol, the former a producer, the latter a singer. However, with this big contract dispute, Little Simz had to cut ties with them and move in a new direction for this album, Lotus. Don't worry, we're not just going to gloss over that, because she gets right into it on the opening track, Thief. And she is spitting, dude. This is visceral. But when you spot someone over £1.5 million and they don't pay it back, something like this is kind of justified.
You talk about God when you have a God complex. I think you're the one that needs saving. I was under the spell and now my spirit's awakened.
And her new producer, Miles James, was probably hearing this in the booth like, damn, I'd really hate to be that guy. And speaking of her new producer, this song sounds really awesome. The only gripe I have with it is that the chorus is underwhelming to me. But that song is followed up by the thumping drums of the album's lead single, Flood. And I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if this was also about Inflo, because Simz had albums in progress with him already, so she's forced to abandon all the time, energy, and creativity she put into these projects, on top of all the missing money. And yeah, she should have had all the rage in the world to make this project directed at him. And the low, quiet tone that she's rapping in only makes it feel more menacing. Nigerian singer Obong Jar makes a cameo here. He and Simz collaborated for a wicked song on Sometimes I Might Be Introvert. You should check out my review of that if you haven't already seen it. Though his role on this song is a lot smaller than on that song. And Moonchild Sonelli also makes an appearance here, singing in Zulu. That is followed by another of the album's singles, Young. It's funky, it's goofy, it feels too unserious for my liking, but if that's up your alley, then have at it.
Nothing to my name now when everybody knows. When I'm in need of cash, I go down to the bingo. Last night I asked Jenny for £1.
We then get a nice beat to open the fourth song, Only. Simz joins in alongside some very relaxing bass and piano for an excellent mood as she raps about love. It's a great tune, and it features Lydia Kiddo, someone who's collaborated plenty with Inflo, just to twist that knife a little bit more. Simz keeps up with the love theme on the last of the album's singles, Free. In the first verse, she raps of all the benefits of love, the benefits of giving it, the benefits of receiving it, and just how strong a bond between two people can make them.
I think that love is forgiving yourself. I think that love is offering your immediate help. I think that love is everything that we need in this world. I think the key is being honest and being yourself.
In the second verse, she raps about fear and the many ways it can hold you back. And finally, she raps about freedom, wrapping up this feel-good tune. This brings us to Peace, on which Simz is reflecting on her life and her career. Over this calm tune, she's trying to reassure herself and many younger people who are in the same position as she is to always give your best effort, never let your failures keep you down, and try to find some peace in your life. Myra May helps her on this one, as does Moses Sumney. That was a nice period we just took there to relax and collect ourselves, and that mood does continue. However, the guns come back on Hollow. She's got bars, dude. She's got bars.
You're the highest paid, allegedly. God's saving grace, allegedly. You want the best for me, allegedly, but all you got is evil eye and jealousy.
God damn, she tears this guy apart. Stay out of Simz' way.
You told me be wary of the sharks, and then you became one. What can anyone truly expect from a day one?
The only thing about this song, I always wait for the beat to pick up. like some drums to come in, for example. And I know it's not going to happen, but I'm always anticipating it. Next, we have a bit of a jazzy go on Lion. On this one, she's flexing that she's the top dog, or the top lion, I suppose. And when the beat comes in during her first verse, that shit hits. That's what I'm talking about. I spent all of Hollow waiting for something like that. Obong Jar returns here for a smooth chorus aided by some slight saxophone. He also handles the fun outro repeating, "We don't care for what they say, that's my superpower." But I care what you say. That's why I put it up on the wall. We get another fun beat and a faster one on Enough. This is another about being a boss and features a fellow Gorillaz collaborator, Little Dragon singer Yukimi Nagano, who provides a verse of her own. After that is a piano ballad, Blood. It reflects on a relationship between siblings who've grown apart, beginning with this bit on how they've failed to keep in touch with each other. This is split up occasionally by a chorus from Cash, though this bit does continue with Wretch32 playing the role of the brother. While it is a neat concept, I simultaneously think it loses replay value to me, as I don't believe I'd be as inclined to listen to this as I would a more traditional song. And that is followed by the title track. On this, Simz tells of her perseverance and how she'll triumph over anything that tries to hold her back. And that determination is audible in her voice for probably her finest moment on the whole album.
And when I write, it's introspective, somewhat subjective. I'm not sure who you think I am or what you're expecting, but I've been human all my life, so please accept it. You live your life on a screen, your mind's congested.
Combined beautifully with the soft singing of Michael Kiwanuka at the chorus.
My pain is a glory. You kept trying to control me, but your God isn't for me, so I'll be moving on.
I will say though that the outro of this felt unnecessary to me. It already was a beautiful song and it probably could have just ended 2 minutes earlier than it does. Funny story, not long ago I was at a record shop and I bought Love and Hate by Michael Kiwanuka and A Different Shade of Blue by Knocked Loose. And the cashier at the desk said, "Let me guess, one of these for you and one for your girlfriend?" She was correct. We now get on to the very open Lonely. On this one you really see the toll that all that beef with Inflow took on her. And I mean, Simz was no stranger to rapping about keeping a strong mental state and not getting too down on yourself. And then the dude who was producing all these songs ends up being one of the biggest inflictors of this anguish on her. That alone would probably take so much time to process and heal from, on top of all the other stuff like the abandoned work and all the missing money. And she raps how at this time she even lost her passion for making music, which is understandable, but in the end I think we're all very grateful that she made it through that. Sampha voices the outro of the song and also appears on the album closer Blue. As Simz straps up her boots to take on the world, she presses the listener on how they would handle being in her situation, though this is actually a pretty calming song.
What would you do if you thought the world was against you? You didn't talk to an angel, told him you needed some guidance. You were suffering in silence, like you're on a desert island.
Quite clearly this is an emotional record, and I hate to say how much I enjoyed what Inflow and Cleo Sol brought to her previous albums now. Cleo's beautiful voice was surely a loss, however Simz had no shortage of great collaborators to back her up on this one, and while the production is certainly different, it's no step down. Given the theme of the album, it starts off very assertive, though after having some fun on Young, that tone changes to be something more relaxing, calming, and self-care driven, though still with the occasional jab at your enemy. I will be stamping Lotus with an A- grading. Unfortunately, the start of the album was underwhelming to me, though there is a great effort driven in the middle of it that again is just so full of care and love. And regardless of whatever mood you're in, you can bet your bottom dollar that Simz will bring the lyrics. And what a shining moment of perseverance this album is for her. Next up, my buddy Adam wants to hear my thoughts on Alanis Morissette, since he knows what a big fan I am, so I figure we ought to do her biggest album, Jagged Little Pill. Alanis hails from the Canadian capital, Ottawa, where she had been involved in the arts from a very young age. Even by 9 years old, she already had a demo tape, and while the Canadian branch of MCA Records was interested, they had mixed thoughts on promoting such a young artist. Another tape of hers came their way 5 years later, and while they still were reluctant to go through with the young artist, they would provide funding for an album to be released through a new, small-scale, independent label. So in 1990, her self-titled debut was recorded, and through an inappropriate process where this 16-year-old was being pushed to lose weight, which resulted in subsequent eating disorders, on top of the alcohol and marijuana that was present in the studio. Being a teen pop album, this was not critically acclaimed despite going platinum in Canada, and following a less successful album the following year, where she would be compared to a knockoff Madonna or Janet Jackson, her contract was not renewed at MCA. What came 3 years later was the real Alanis with a whole new sound. We start off with All I Really Want, which would be the, wait for it, 6th single released from this album. While it is upbeat and grooving, we get the sensation pretty early on that she's out of her teen pop era, favoring something more alternative here. When Alanis joins in, she's really just rambling, asking lots of questions in search for somebody she can have deep conversations with, and as a result, a connection.
Do I stress you out? My sweater is on backwards and inside out, and you say, how appropriate.
Furthermore, Alanis has a very notable voice and plenty of high inflections you cannot ignore.
And there I go, jumping before the gunshot has gone off. Slap me with the splintered ruler.
This brings us to the album's lead single, You Oughta Know. This is considered one of the quintessential bad breakup songs, being a total diss track on her ex. It starts off with a calm before the storm, as she's quietly talking over this quiet drum beat, before all the musical aspects join in, as she just rips into this guy without holding back. Feels like there's a bit of a theme here today.
And I'm here to remind you of the mess you left when you went away.
On a side note, she moved to Los Angeles before making this album, and she recruited some locals to help her on this one. Notably Dave Navarro of Jane's Addiction and Flea of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So no wonder the bass is so good on this thing. We ease things down for the third track, Perfect. While it sounds soft and comforting, the lyrics tell a different tale, seemingly from the perspective of a parent who demands perfection and won't show any amount of love otherwise. Yikes. We keep that kind of sound but add a bit more energy thanks to the drums with another single, Hand in My Pocket. This song is full of conjunctions, with every verse being 6 lines of, I'm something, but I'm something that should contradict that. I'm broke but I'm happy, I'm free but I'm focused, etc.
I'm high but I'm grounded. I'm sane but I'm overwhelmed. I'm lost but I'm hopeful, baby.
And with every iteration of the chorus, she assures us that things will be fine, and in a very casual mood where one hand is in her pocket and the other's always doing something simple like offering a high five or a peace sign. After that is Right Through You. This is another spiteful track, but not exactly in the same way as You Oughta Know. Alanis was feeling used by her previous label, but more importantly, she was feeling used by a man at that label, and let's remember how old she was at the time. This was something Alanis kept quiet about for a long time before eventually opening up about it, and this song certainly feels like it alludes to that. An abrupt ending takes us to the 6th song, Forgiven. And let's be clear, she's not forgiving the guy from the last song. She's expressing her qualms with her Catholic upbringing. I would call this my favorite song on the album, and coincidentally, it's probably the grungiest song on here, though it does benefit from a good chorus section. Then on to another of the album's singles is You Learn. This song really reinforces the idea that you learn through experience, even if that means engaging with things that make you uncomfortable, so as to get through those anxieties. Now, unfortunately, when she was in Los Angeles, she was mugged at gunpoint, which gave her a lot of anxiety that therapy wouldn't help with. But she learned that pouring her emotion into song and singing it was therapy to her. How poetic's that? And the singles don't end there, because we have another one, Head Over Feet. It's a love song on which Alanis is very grateful for her partner, thanking them for every little thing they do through some thoughtful lyrics.
You ask how my day was. You've already won me over in spite of me.
That is then followed up by Mary Jane. Here, Alanis is trying to advise a friend who is exhausted from always putting others first, and she's trying to advise them to put themselves first for once. And I think that's a message a lot of people can benefit from hearing. We reach the last of this abundance of singles with the 10th track, Ironic.
It's like rain on your wedding day. It's a free ride on your already paid.
Throughout, Alanis paints many pictures that have an ironic twist, and this sparked a big conversation on whether any of these are actually ironic. And to me, it's so out of hand how big this got, the amount of times it's been focused on or parodied even. Like, when she sings You're Already Running Late and then you get into a traffic jam, I think we all understand what she's saying. Meanwhile, you have nerds like, actually, this is not textbook definition irony. This is mere coincidence. At best, you could argue it is situational irony. None of you guys are invited over here if you're going to be that annoying. I can't believe how hard you have me defending Alanis Morissette right now. We continue on with Not the Doctor. Here she's establishing some boundaries. She is interested in a relationship, but she doesn't want to be somebody's escape. She doesn't want to be somebody's prize. She doesn't want to be somebody's caretaker. She doesn't even want to be somebody's other half, because she wants to be herself, and 1 and 1 makes 2. Quick maths. And that is pursued by Wake Up. Here she's dealing with someone much too difficult who is never satisfied. And furthermore, it sounds like they feel like they deserve everything while giving nothing in return. The chorus and bass guitar on this really hit, though it does have quite an abrupt ending. The CD concludes with an alternate mix of You Oughta Know. Not much changes, just that the bass is more prominent, so I would actually call it the better of the two versions. And that is followed by the a cappella track, Your House. I've got to give props where it's due. Jagged Little Pill is hit after hit, and having an album you released at 21 years old go on to sell 33 million copies deserves all the praise. With that being said, this is going to be a difficult album for me to grade because honestly, I cannot stand her voice. This is a very angsty album that I'm sure spoke to a lot of people, probably turned Alanis into a role model with the way she expresses herself through her art and the redemption that she had, but I just don't care for any of these songs. So I guess I'm stamping this with a C grading. Can I call it a bad album? I don't think I can, but it's not one I ever really want to listen to. She has an inspiring story. There's no shortage of effort or emotion. It's just that her voice, it attacks my brain and provides the same sensation I imagine a lobotomy would. Hand in My Pocket annoys the hell out of me. I think the harmonica is the only part of it that keeps me sane. And you learn. What the hell is she doing? What is this? What are you doing? Stop. I can't believe I'm doing this right. Lastly, my friend Taylor would like to hear my thoughts on the Greta Van Fleet release, From the Fires. Greta Van Fleet rose to modern rock prominence in really what felt like no time at all. Fronted by the three Kiska brothers who had often played music together, they officially became a band in 2012, none of them older than 15 at the time. By 2014, they had a song in a Chevrolet commercial. By 2017, their debut single Highway Tune topped the rock charts in the shortest amount of time for any debut single since 2001. This would appear on the 4-song EP Black Smoke Rising a month later, which was eventually expanded with 4 more songs later that year to become the EP From the Fires. It begins with the other single the band had released, Safari Song. I'm going to say it right now because it doesn't take long at all to notice, and you already know it's coming. You already know it's coming, but oh my god, they sound like Led Zeppelin. Josh Kiska's voice is so practically spot on with Robert Plant's, like probably closer than anybody else has ever been. And the way he sings and the band's sound, they don't do much to distance themselves from that comparison. That's something that got the band a lot of flack and that they've had to deal with for their entire careers pretty much. And it sparked the bigger conversation of where do you draw the line between being influenced by an act versus just copying an act. And this is a conversation I have had with people. Somebody said that they love Led Zeppelin. This is more stuff that just sounds like Led Zeppelin, so it's just, more stuff that's up their alley, more stuff to enjoy. Anyhow, this is just a groovy rock song about loving. And as someone who's played a lot of Forza Horizon 4, I've become very familiar with this song, and while I wouldn't call it bad, I can live without it. This brings us to the grittier second track, Edge of Darkness. A decent tune about looking for the good in the world. It's just the chorus that holds it back for me. After that, we soften up for some acoustic flower power. The organ joins in to add some more emotion on this one about a lady you're very fond of. And with all the references to nature, I wouldn't be surprised if this one was about the world even. A nice organ outro sees us into the next one, A Change Is Gonna Come. Intent on showing off how diverse they are, this is a cover of the revolutionary Sam Cooke song.
It's been a long, long time coming, and I know.
And I have to give them credit because a change really does come. They do a good job putting their own spin on this and making it sound really grand. And so we get to the big hit Highway tune, and I still remember my first time hearing this. I was at work, it came on the radio, and right away my interest was piqued. I was like, oh my god, this must be some previously unreleased Led Zeppelin material that just came out. And these comparisons are warranted because it's almost uncanny how alike they sound. I don't think it's surprising that this one took off and became a hit, even outside of the Led Zeppelin comparisons. It's got a lot of the makings of a single. That brings us to the sixth song, Meet on the Ledge, a cover of the 60s song by Fairport Convention, Richard Thompson's group. And again, they do a good job making their own attempt at the song. It starts off with a nice groove before easing down into something calmer so Josh can deliver the verse, before picking up again for the chorus. While I do prefer the original, I do applaud the band for their take on this. So we get the blood flowing again with Talk on the Street.
What's this war that you want? Oh, mama, you walk this way, and I'm crying inside.
It's got a nice drive to it. I feel like here they're refining their sound, sounding less like Led Zeppelin. I understand there's not a lot Josh can do about his voice sounding so similar to Plant's, but stylistically they deviate from what they had been doing, and I think that's probably why it's one of the better songs on this to me.
They're just talking on the streets. Remember the days when there's no one to defeat.
So we reach the end now with Black Smoke Rising.
Below there was a tower where they look out to the land to see the people quickly passing by.
The song is inspired by all the summers the brothers spent camping, and the realization that hanging out around a bonfire is something humans have probably been doing since we discovered fire. It's got a nice rocking vibe to it, and I think the band does a good job here for what's probably my favorite song on this project. It felt pretty necessary to bring up the resemblance Greta Van Fleet had to Led Zeppelin, just because it's so obvious. So for me, it's hard not to see them as this inferior version, at least for as long as they're going to be sounding like that. Though like I said, those last two songs, they did deviate away from that more, which I think is a good move for them. And I guess I'll be stamping this with a B- grading. It's not that it's bad music, it's just that it's so impossible to overlook the comparison. They sound so much like them. You can't ignore it. You can't ignore it. And so it's not really for me, but I don't know, all the best with them. Maybe they're going in a better direction now. That wraps up my thoughts on these three albums, Lotus, Jagged Little Pill, From the Fires, which isn't an album, it's an EP. Not that that's important. Whatever, we're done. This is a bad outro. Get out of here. But real quick before we take off, what were your thoughts on these three albums or any of these three albums? Did I rate them too high or did I rate them too low? You let me know down below, as well as any other comments you might want to share or any other albums you might want me to check out. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time. You're getting old, dude. You're getting a forehead wrinkle.